hey, you ugly old ass bitch, I want to buy 10 beats at $2,000 each. What should I do?
Call them a name back and sell them.
And this is where we differ, because I'm like, I'm not even responding to the email. I'm cool.
So basically what you're going to see in this clip, and I didn't even do my research to figure out where this cat comes from. Seems like he is in the music industry, but has prior experience in other industries. Because that's ultimately where the proposition of 50-50 partnership comes, because it's very normal in other industries. The type of partnership. Or I think in music, like in another industry, if I say, hey, let's start this restaurant, or let's start this dry cleaners. Like if I come to the table with the money to do it, like that is probably worth 50% by itself. Just bringing you the money to start this dry cleaners. Like, let's just say I'm bringing the money, and then maybe I, am responsible for kind of like the accounting and things like that. In most industries, that's worth 50% of the business. But that it doesn't translate that way to an artist and their business. Why do you guys think that is, before we listen to this?
I mean, I think it's just because of the attitude that comes with being a creative.
Do you think it should? And I'm not saying I don't necessarily think it should. If somebody just brings money, now they're owed 50% of whatever. I'm just letting people know, having experience in other industries, that's fairly normal, right? You come to, whatever you want to start, a car wash, signage company, whatever it is. If I come with the money to do this, I typically am going to ask for something around 50% of the business.
If you're funding it completely, absolutely.
Yeah. So how come I can't come to an artist and be like, okay, I'm going to give you the $50,000 to do this, but now I own 50 or $100,000 to do this, but now I own 50% of your business.
I even feel like that's a little bit steep on the investor side, a little bit, because do you know what I'm saying? Because there's no proof of concept. Now, if you will have business acumen and you have a product that can be shown to be scalable, and do you know what I'm saying? Because we're comparing this to like other businesses, which require a wider vetting process. Music is intuitive. So you're thinking and believing that something that you align with is going to work because the purveyor of it seems to want to work on it. But you never know with music. Whereas with a product, if you dip, I still get the product, or I can sell the licenses around it. And yes, you can do that with music, but it's a little bit more complicated. So Payne, you're saying if I fund all the money, I feel like if I show up with an expertise, because, if you think about a lot of CEOs, there's like a lot of CEOs will come in for equity, or a lot of consultants will come in for equity. I consider myself a top level consultant when I'm coming from a managerial perspective. That should automatically give me equity. In my opinion, the amount of equity that you would normally pay a manager. So typically, people say 15%. That shit is egregious. I'm saying 20 to 30% off rip. If I come, I'm getting equity off of everything that I help you with up until I leave. And if you want to put a sunset clause on the equity or a buyout clause, cool. But everything that I'm a part of that you're creating while I'm here, I want 20, 25% at a minimum. If I bring relationships, whatever, every time I invest, take a flight, come out to you, book you a studio session, even though that money doesn't directly go in your pocket, that's a financial investment. So I think 50-50 is even before I give you actual cash to burn. I think 50-50 could come in. There's terms, but I would say I would want, for me, if I were to ever do management again, which I don't plan on it, off rip, you're giving me 25% of everything and not just stuff that I'm there for to create. If you already have a back catalog, if I'm coming in, I want equity. We can figure out what the terms look like, but I'm coming in at least a quarter of the equity. And from there, we can figure it out because it doesn't make sense. I'm too skilled for you to tell me that I'm going to potentially get a percentage and you can't afford my hourly rate or my monthly rate. So you got to give me equity in this and it's got to have terms that I agree with.
So what type of management arrangement are we talking about here that involves financial investment as well as
every manager's agreement? Don't let any manager tell you that every manager is spending money on their client.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of just a lump sum of not travel expenses, not injecting a little money into this thing here and this thing over here. I'm talking about company just like a Shark Tank episode. I want to give you 50,000.
Like Scooter Braun, they typically are like, here's $200,000. We own you, essentially.
Yeah. So no, I don't think that's typically happening in just straight out like management situations. I mean, it does happen from time to time, but to me, it doesn't happen more often than not, right? Typically, I was just bringing that up because funding is looked at as differently in other industries. So if it is part of the equation, that should be where the starting point is. If I hand you $100,000 to start the business, then I own 50%. But anyway, play the clip so we can.
Well, but in artist defense, even in more traditional businesses, a person with an idea may be hesitant to give up equity to someone that's funding that idea. So it's not just artists, but
I'm a restaurateur. I already know how to run it. I can put the money up for the location. I know how we're going to make it big. You just cook. Great. We're 50-50 partners. You cook. I run the restaurant that's going to make us all the money. So to me, it's like the partnership of manager and artist should be a real partnership. It should be because I'm putting the same sacrifice. I'm giving my same hours as you are. I'm late at the studio. I'm sacrificing my family the same way. I'm putting my own money into pay my flights and stuff because you don't have money to pay me yet. Mm-hmm. And I agree that if the artist then blows up and becomes, the weekend, then you can start lowering the percentage of a manager as that goes because guess what? Now I don't have to chase so many opportunities. They're coming to us. So I'm going to lower that level of percentage to match my duties and my jobs that I'm doing now. But at the beginning, the first couple of years, the first contract should be 50-50. We should be us working together with one goal to build partnership, to build a business, an entity together. And when the tables turn, you kind of go down.
What's your guy? I mean, I definitely have a ton of thoughts, but feel free to weigh in first, just on this gentleman and what he said.
I'm scared to look at the comment section. And actually, now I'm looking at the comment section. I wish I hadn't done that. Holy shit.
My thing is like, there's no general rule on what things should be because, there are good managers, there are bad managers. I really liked the way my business was set up with Hobson, right? Like, I really think that we were 50-50 partners on the business, and then he was signed to the label, right? So some people still have that confused. Some people think that I got 50% of his albums, right? No, that's not what it was. We were 50-50 partners on the business. So if we sold like Funk Volume merchandise, if anything just Funk Volume related, that revenue came in and ultimately, with divvied 50-50. But in terms of a Hobson album, let's just say, I can't remember, it was a tiered in terms of what albums, what the percentage split was on different albums. But let's just say an album was 50-50. That meant that 50 went to the artist, 50 went to the label. Him and I owned the label 50-50. So it was kind of like a 75-25 split. But again, I had equity in the business. So we were growing, we were signing other artists. So as other artists made money and the money that came from those artists that went into the business, Hobson and I own that 50-50. So I like that structure because, I'm pretty much funded the business in the beginning 2 years. I came to the table with more of a business acumen, with an understanding of how we can build this and structure it and things like that. And to be honest, even though I like that deal, like, it's very beneficial to Hop. Like, it was extremely beneficial to Hop, because if you look at it like that, it's kind of like a 75-25 split on his album. And that's similar to just a regular management situation. So if you think a regular management situation should be 80-20, this was 75-25. So for that additional 5%, you have somebody that's been in the corporate world, has an MBA, that's building an actual business for you, that you're going to make money from other artists. You're going to make money from other initiatives that we do under the Funk Volume banner. For just giving up that 5%, that's a little bit more than traditional, and sometimes is traditional. 75-25 can be traditional. So bottom line is, like, I don't think there should be any standard agreement, because you're going to find a lot of managers that don't do shit, that you shouldn't even give them 1% or 2%, but if you have somebody
and they
more,
shouldn't be managing you.
Right, exactly. But if you have somebody more experienced, Erin has her, she just explained how she moves. You just have to all get on the same page. The first comment is from Ryan Schmidt, who I'm actually going to have on Two Lost Office Hours on Monday. And he said, if everyone is comfortable with that agreement, I'm not going to knock what two adults agree to voluntarily, especially if the manager is financially investing in the artist. That is, however, way higher than the standard 10-20. I don't know if 10 is not. 10 is out of pocket unless you're like a star to me. But that it's higher than the standard 10-20 a manager usually takes. The logic of a true partnership breaks down a little when the manager has multiple artists on the roster. The reason I don't manage is because, like, when I manage, like, I'm going to get like super invested. Like, I'm going to be spending day and night, like, thinking about how we can move this thing forward, so it's 24/7 for me. And if you're over here arguing about, if you're trying to tell me 10%, like, I'm not even going, I'm not going to disrupt my days like that. So I think every manager is different in terms of what they're investing and what experience they have and what kind of energy they're going to put into this and how serious they're going to take it. Because, like he said, if a manager has like 10 people on his roster, how much dedication can that person really put in?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Yeah, and I agree. Everybody's got to be comfortable. I think that you have to take into account the expert in the room. Artists are quick to pay a ton of money for a feature because they think the feature is going to parlay them somewhere, but not willing to spend the money or give the percentage to a manager or business type. That kind of goes back to the meeting with Jay-Z thing. People would willingly say, I will solve my left arm to get enough money to go have a meeting with Jay-Z, but again, won't give a dedicated, focused, excited manager equity. And I don't even think the person has to be extremely skilled. I wasn't skilled when I first walked in, but I was passionate and I was obsessed. You can't pay for obsession. That's a gift. Like, for somebody to be obsessed over your art and over your business enough for them to be sacrificing themselves to make it go. And so I think that there's indicators that you want to look for when people want to work with you. But a lot of times when you get people who are obsessed, you're probably a super solid, or to a degree, a solid artist. And sometimes the genius that you feel that you have will eclipse your gratitude and start to cause you to feel like what you have holds more weight than what they're bringing to the table. And it's hard to find people to get on board with you. It's very hard to find people to get on board with you for no upfront money and really no proof of concept. So I think you really just got to value the people around you. And like Dame said, talk about what everybody's comfortable with. That's why I say I don't manage, because most people would not be comfortable with what I need just to get in the door. And when I get in the door, I'm asking for more things just because me being present means there's magic in the room and you got to pay for that.
Let me point out the obvious flaw here with the whole restaurant analogy, right? So at the beginning, he's saying if I'm putting in all the money and all you're doing is cooking, then we're partners. What happens once the chef stops cooking? You already put the money in. You can't take that money back out. So I'm concerned with any manager going into it, because I know very passionate managers who fall in love with a person's artistry and their potential, and then they put in all this work, and the artist just one day is like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm done. Or you wore the wrong shoes on such and such a day. You know, my girlfriend, my boyfriend, whoever the fuck in my life just pissed me off. I'm going to take it out on you. And then they just stop cooking. And you've already put in all that work. They didn't put in the work because the whole time you were trying your hardest to get them opportunities. So you did way more work than they did. They'd be making music regardless. You're the one who I've seen this with my own two eyes, driving them around, booking them opportunities, negotiating contracts, making sure they wake up on time in the morning, booking their flights, routing their touring routes if you're not able to drive them yourself. I had a manager drive an artist 25 hours straight, 2 ways, and that artist dropped him.
Yeah.
He was left with nothing. So it concerns me.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of risk that managers take, you know, especially once they get heavily invested into a particular artist. But there's another comment that was pretty highly rated from Sir Moto that says, "This is the scam. This is the same."
This motherfucker. Look at his stats. Let's pull a DJZ.
But let me just tell people what he said. He said, "This is the same scam mentality as the 360 deal. We're not partners. A manager is an employee. Always remember that. The manager should never be giving directives to an artist. The manager works for the artist. The manager's incentive is that 20%. You can make 20% of nothing or 20% of millions, depending on how well you do your job." Reactions to that opinion? No.
Like I said, look, man, this man has on his real artist page 167 followers. The last time he posted was, he posted a day ago. And then the last time before that was last month. So again, like, he doesn't have anything to manage. So I doubt he has enough experience to have this hard line of a stance against every single management/investment scenario. And I don't have the energy to validate his opinion right now.
I mean, it's definitely not a scam. Like, people can come to the table with what they feel they're worth. Like, Erin just laid out what she believes she's worth. And once you understand her expectations, you can either engage or look for somebody else to work with. But it's as long as you're being transparent, to me, it's not really a scam. This cat in the video feels like it should be this way. You know, it's okay for people to have different opinions, different perceptions of value, and then just go their separate ways. That's okay. You know, but when I lock in, like, so with Big Job, for example, like, I don't feel like we're going to win because I know way more than some other person. It's we are not going to stop until we get where we want to be. And if you have somebody on your team like that, that's constantly thinking of new ideas, constantly thinking, constantly encouraging you, finding just different ways to do things, like, that's extremely valuable, in my opinion. You might sit there and be like, well, I could do that. I don't need that person. So maybe we wouldn't be a good fit, right? So you really just have to find the person that fits what you need, and you're on the same page in terms of what that person's value is, you know, in terms of what they bring to the table. There's no just hard rules to this. I mean, like, I just explained that I liked the structure that I had with Hop. And if I was to ever, you know, start a label again with an artist, which I probably would never do, like, I would do something similar to that structure. To me, that made a lot of sense. You know, but maybe an artist doesn't want to start an actual label and, you know, bring on other artists. They're just interested in growing their brand. And that might be, you know, a different conversation. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is how it is. But the second we put it on social media, we're going to get some wild input that no one necessarily asked for, and that doesn't necessarily come from a place of either good intentions, experience, or either. I think speaking of social media, though, sorry, go ahead.
I was saying, I think if you've never had a actual management relationship where y'all both made money, I would refrain from commenting, It's cool if your homie managed you, or cool if you had an experience with somebody and they screwed you over, and so only they made money but you didn't. I want to hear from people who have both their manager and you made money, and I'm not talking about $100. I'm not saying it's got to be 100,000, but if you have comments on this, I would love to hear from y'all, managers, execs, but also artists who have had good or bad relationships with execs.
Yeah. Look, and this is the last thing I'll say. If you look at it on a spectrum of like, hey, an artist just starting out, if you have somebody that's willing to step into that management role, because I said this many times, but like I'm not of the camp that says you should only get a manager when you have something to manage. To me, if you're lucky enough to have somebody in the beginning that can help build something to manage, then there should be an equity conversation for sure in that situation. If you're on the other end of the spectrum, you're already moving and shaking, maybe you just fell out with a manager, you need a new manager, but you have revenue coming in, that could be a commission situation. That's where Aaron and I have a difference of an opinion, and that's okay. Like I probably wouldn't come in and ask for equity out the gate if you're already moving and shaking and there's some things that we can commission like straight up, as soon as we start working. But that's the difference between her and I. That I'm not saying that there's a scam in either of those approaches. I know that somebody also commented. Managers really took a beating in the comment section for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Of this video. But if you have somebody that's solid, smart, passionate, driven, is super invested in what you're doing, not just and I'm not talking from a money perspective, but from a time perspective, and energy. Please value that person. That person is extremely valuable. And if you, they're not easy to come by.
No.
So that's all.
No. Well, this leads into my next topic, because I manage my own social media, my own inquiries. The thing I love about having a booking manager is, because at least with a booking, it's a lot more straightforward than selling a beat to somebody. In my experience, it tends to be. And so I kick that over to my booking manager. I would love to have someone checking my social media all the time, but I feel, because I'm speaking from my creative heart, I just feel like I'm more connected to that process and that product, whatever. But I had an interaction with a rapper looking to buy beats the other day, and this is not the first time it's happened. Basically, I wasn't seeing his emails and I had to search for them. And he was understandably frustrated because he had sent me a demo that he recorded. He wanted to know about the beat. So he had some disrespectful things to say to me, and I was ready to just walk away from the situation. I didn't cuss him out or anything. Early on in my career, I probably would have, and that would have been the wrong way to go, because someone's, it was like my immature matching energy era of my life, which unfortunately a lot of people are still stuck in, and it just doesn't help anyone. But I considered how many, just being on the internet, how much disrespect I experience every day, just being on the internet. And I was like, well, if you're a stranger and you disrespect me on the internet, it doesn't matter. It's superficial. We don't know each other. So why would I burn a bridge with this rapper just because he's frustrated and acting out? So the question is, in our worlds, we're all self-employed, right? And the outcome was I just didn't react with any sort of emotion. I took all emotion out of it once I put things into perspective with this artist, because I'm like, he doesn't know me. Whatever disrespect he's sending me, I don't accept, because it has nothing to do with me. It's him being frustrated. It's frustration over an email. It has nothing to do with me as a human. So I just sent him a very emotionless but specific email back saying, okay, I listened to your email. This is how it works. And didn't burn the bridge. And he responded. His tone changed immediately. Everything was professional from that point on. So given that we're self-employed, we can choose to work with whomever we want, and we can choose to burn bridges anytime we want. As opposed to someone working as a cashier. You'll get fired if you cuss a customer out, regardless of how disrespectful the customer is, which I think is unfair. I think cashiers should be able to cuss people out if they disrespect them. but we always hear that business shouldn't be personal. The music business often feels intensely personal. How do we balance self-respect and boundaries within this business? Like an imaginary scenario where someone emails me and says, hey, you ugly old ass bitch, I want to buy 10 beats at $2,000 each. You know, what should I do?
Call them a name back and sell them.
And this is where we differ, because I'm like, I'm not even responding to the email. I'm cool. Because it's like, you going to disrespect me off rip. You can't have a piece of my heart. I feel like everything I create, even if I'm not attached to it, originally came from a point of inspiration and care. And I don't want that living with you, especially if you don't care about me. So that's like, I've talked about it before, but especially last year, I walked away from a ton of money just because I felt so disrespected and uncared for. And it was like, to make that money, I always had to give more money away to the people around me. And it was like, I wasn't insulated. I needed to be taken care of. And so for me, I'm big on the self-respect. I care more about me being healthy, whole, and mentally sound than I care about the bread, because the bread's going to come when I'm in the right place, when my mind is right. It's naturally going to be attracted to me. But if I'm fighting upstream just for a little self-respect, and so I'm going to be fighting for money too. So I'm fighting for money and self-respect. That's crazy. I'll take the self-respect and let the money flow.
Yeah. That's a good point, because that is, fighting for money is exhausting. And then if that respect thing, but then my question is, if the money's there, is it a one or the other scenario with you, Aaron? Like,
yeah,
you have the money, but they're disrespectful.
You have to pay me an astronomical amount for me to be like and there's certain things that I won't align with, period. Like if you're abusive or if you don't respect women, like, and it doesn't even have to be this big, like, you beat women. It could just be that I walk up to you with a man and you only address the man. I'm not working with you. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care if it's a $50,000, $100,000 sponsorship. People who respect me have the same amount of money. I just have to find them. And I won't find them if I keep sacrificing my personal self-respect to get to the first dollar that is requiring me to sacrifice what I believe in. So no, morals for me stand above any dollar amount, because you can always make money. You can't fix your integrity a lot of times, and you can't change your character once you're on trend with having negative character.
Yeah. And again, that's where everybody's allowed to draw their own boundaries. Like, you know, I can't imagine a scenario where that you just laid out, Payne, but if it did happen, like, I have two brothers, like we grew up calling each other names all the time. Like names don't really, so if that's all the person did was just call me a bitch or something like that, all right, maybe I'll put a extra charge on these beats, like, you know, it's 50%. You can still get them though. Shit, I don't care.
Yeah, there's an extra bitch fee.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly, that's the additional service fee for calling names. But you know, but I respect
that. Could be an upsell.
You know, there are a couple of restaurants, or at least one that I've heard, you know, where you go and get bad service on like that's their thing. Like they, you know. I'm not tripping. You're talking about Waffle House, right? Probably.
Chill.
I'm playing. Every time if I go to the South, I don't care what happens in the Waffle House as long as I get the eggs and the
ladies
and the
are nice. The cooks are usually nice.
I've never.
People would be crazy if you have a crazy experience, but most of the time they be cool.
Yeah. It was a joke. I'm sorry, Waffle House. I know you get a bad rap, and I don't know why, because anytime I've eaten at a Waffle House, and it was normally in Atlanta, so I just kind of automatically like anything in that city. But I've never seen any of the wild stuff people capture on these Instagram reels.
So if it's just like a simple, like if I did make beats and it was just a simple transaction, somebody called me a name but still wanted beats, for sure, I got you. Like I'll just send the beat, whatever. We don't have to talk. You can call me. I'll just call you a clown or whatever. The name doesn't matter. But if it was something like, I feel like a consultation would be different though. Like if I'm sitting here now, I got to talk to you. You know, spend an hour. Like, you know, that's going to me, that would change the game. I probably wouldn't do a consultation for someone, but I also wouldn't understand why you wouldn't why you would pay for a consultation from somebody that you didn't really respect. So that would be kind of weird.
Well, what happened to me recently, Dame, was someone booked a consultation with me. We scheduled it. And then the night we scheduled the date, which was the evening prior to the consultation taking place, he filed a PayPal charge back saying I defrauded him. So I don't know if he thought there was going to be a delay and I was still going to do the consultation with him. So you never know. People are weird. People are very strange.
That is true. That is definitely true. There's a lot of, and I've had more weird experiences being in the music industry. And I guess now it's been a long time, but even I would have said this, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, I had more weird experiences in the music industry than the rest of the years of my life combined. Like it just, it's just a weird space, and you get all different kinds of people. You're interacting with all different kinds of people throughout the day. And you don't really know, folks' motivations or, personalities. And you're right. That's why you got to have a really tight network and a really dope, team.
Well, so from experience, let me just end this segment with 4 beat selling tips that I don't hear people talk about. And these are just kind of suggestions. They're not hard and fast rules because they have to do with boundaries. But number one, being patient and asking questions. When someone's hesitant or when someone is contacting me about a beat, it can't be transactional because then that's a black or white situation. There's a lot of gray area when you're talking to a potential customer. So I'll ask people what their needs are. If they're acting weird about the price, I'll just ask them directly, hey, what is a reasonable price for you? Just lay it on the table. If they're like, I want an exclusive beat for $50, I'm like, okay, well, we can't work together. But if they say, all right, I want this $150 lease for $80, it's something to consider, right? And it's a conversation, and it might be worth making that sale and getting that customer. Number two, if a person says, I can't buy the beat now, a lot of producers will be reactive. They'll either just ignore them and stop talking, or they'll be like, yeah, okay, yeah, right. Fuck out of here. Sure, yeah, sure you will. There are even memes about this, the whole, it's like a skeleton in a studio desk, and it says when the rapper says, I got you next Friday. A lot of artists, in my experience, say I got you next Friday. Either they got you next Friday or they got you the following Friday, or even 3 Fridays from then. I've had artists contact me years after an initial conversation, like, hey, I'm ready to buy the beat. So my advice would be, don't be reactive. Just remain professional. Remove the emotion from the situation. Don't assume the worst. But then also keep record of these conversations and ask them for a time frame. When are you going to be ready? And then if they say, okay, next week, put that in your spreadsheet and then follow up with them. Number 3, this is going to be the controversial one. Don't block people who annoy you, because they could become customers. I'm not talking about assholes. I'm talking about people who are just maybe a little, I don't know. They just rub you the wrong way for no real serious reason. Like if someone's stalking you or threatening you, then yeah, block them. But you're a business at the end of the day, and sometimes you have to deal with annoying customers who aren't being annoying because they're intentionally trying to annoy you. A lot of us just are sensitive. So we have to figure out how to identify situations where we're the ones being reactive. I would also say, lastly, compliment other artists' music and other producers' beats. Genuinely, if you like something, do it. Not because you want to collab, not because you want to sell them something. Just getting into the habit, which is going to feel forced at first, but allow it to become an authentic habit rather than, looking at what someone's doing and feeling jealous or feeling competitive with them. Just changing that overall energy about yourself is going to open a lot more doors in the long run. And even if it doesn't, at least you're happier. At least you're not looking at everyone as an adversary. You're looking at their music as what it is, music. Oh, that's great. Not like, oh, I could have done that, or why can't I do that? Try those things. 4 tips for producers. And these are ones that I had to learn through experience. And these aren't just things that you can always implement overnight. They take practice. This is more of internal work than anything, honestly. But I think that helps.
Dope. All right, we lost Erin. We missed some of her internal chats. I didn't see them, but she had to go. She said a band has landed. Erin's always working on new and exciting things. I don't even know what band she's talking about, but we lost Erin, so let's just go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah, I'm technically producing this, and I didn't see her messages, but yeah, me too. I'm about to catch a flight and go to South America or whatever Erin's doing with her amazing life. So on that note, free music distribution. I can't say it any other way. It's free music distribution for 3 whole months. You can get a lot of music distributed in 3 months. Just go to toolost.com, use the code @odds, TOOLOST.com, use ATODDS as the code for 3 free months. Get all your music up. If you decide you don't want to continue, your music doesn't get deleted. A lot of platforms, a lot of distributors will delete your music if you stop paying a membership fee. From my understanding, Two Lost doesn't do that, which is great. So it's really a no-lose situation. And we will be back right here on At Odds. Peace.
Peace.